How you doing, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes. I'm your host, Marcus. And if you're with me for the last episode, I went through my first top 10 draft picks. And since then, some information has changed, and so has my opinion. My hot take will remain the same for last week, but this is going to be a little different this time. Usually, I give you one hot take for an entire week. And it's usually one small segment, like a tiny little thing. But it matters in a big way. This week's episode, however, is going to be an entire hot take in itself. I started last week, and I'm changing it a bit this week. I'm giving you my entire first round of draft picks in order. You'll see here on your screen, this is the current order of the draft. And on the right side here, you see, it might be a little blurry, so I have to bring it up. But that's why I have both of these up here for you. I have some swaps here for certain teams and certain picks, and you'll see why in just a moment. Excuse me. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, of course, the first pick is by the Jaguars. They're taking Trevor Lawrence. Though some recent information has come out that Trevor Lawrence does not play with a chip of any sort of on his shoulder, and while that can be a bit disturbing for certain football purists, or certain teams can be warded off by that, because we're talking about a quarterback who plays for different motivations, if any at all. We don't know what they are. He said he just wants to be the best, but he's not motivated by championships or wins and losses. From what I understand, he's had quite the easy experience ever since he was roughly 13, 14 years old. He's just been the guy. So he's always been a starter. He's never had to sit behind anyone, never really played in any adversity, anything of that sort. So I guess he wouldn't have that chip on his shoulder that most players walk into the league with. And he's going into a situation where he's going to Jacksonville with a new coach who burns the midnight oil. Like, it hurts him to lose. He's super passionate. And while Trevor Lawrence has admitted that he is passionate, without that chip, we don't know what we're really going to be getting. So I would tell Jacksonville fans to just kind of pump the brakes on the idea that this guy's going to be your John Elway or whomever you want to compare him to. Because most of the greats in the past have been motivated. They want the championship. They want to be the best, whatever that means. And most of them want to win at all costs. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what it means. Something is driving them. We have no idea what drives Trevor Lawrence. He's had it pretty easy. He's getting ready to get a serious wake-up call when he gets to the league. Hopefully it doesn't, ruin his confidence, so to speak. But I still have him going number one to Jacksonville. Hopefully him and the new coach, I believe this is going to be Urban Meyer. Hopefully they can make that work, because you'd be crazy to pass up on that talent. I'm just going to say it straight up. You got the first pick and you need a quarterback, you'd be crazy to pass up on that talent. But the good news is he's walking into a situation where he has some pretty good receivers. He has a decent offensive line, and his defense needs work. But luckily he's a quarterback. He doesn't play on that side of the ball. So he's walking into a pretty good situation. Jacksonville, you should be happy with that first pick being Trevor Lawrence. Number two, of course, the Jets are still going to be taking, in my opinion, Zach Wilson. I don't know why they would take anyone else. He's the consensus number 2 pick at this point. Enough said about that. Not a whole lot to be said about this pick. I would just say that the Jets need to take precaution and not only use this draft to get him some weapons, but protect your quarterback. You all haven't had a good quarterback since Chad Pennington. I mean, like, one that sticks around. Like, one that wants to be there and stay there. Chad Pennington was your last really good quarterback, and you kind of blew that one. So hopefully it works out for you this time with Zach Wilson. Don't give up on him really fast, and for the love of goodness, get Adam Gase out of New York. He's going to ruin Zach Wilson if that's the case. So yeah. So the third pick goes to San Francisco, and I have them still taking Mac Jones. Now, I'm only have them taking Mac Jones because he seems to fit and check off every notch, every box that Kyle Shanahan's offense pretty much needs. Now, his offense usually calls for a much more mobile quarterback, but Mac Jones, while not the most mobile quarterback, he can stretch a play or two. And given what San Francisco has in that line, they just signed Trent Williams to a long-term deal. I think they're going to be fine. He's not going to have to stretch the play too often. The kid's got a cannon for an arm, but we're going to see how he does without having a plethora of great receivers, because I'm always suspicious, I should say, of Alabama quarterbacks because they play with the cream of the crop. All of the great prospects want to go to Alabama because you go to Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas. These are the feeder schools of the NFL. These are the players, these players want to go to these schools because they know for a fact they're going to get TV time. These are highly touted athletes. They're going to be going to the pros if they play their cards right, period. No matter what. These are the feeder schools. So Alabama is the cream of the crop. Quarterbacks that go there, not saying they're not the best, because usually they are, but when the best play with the best against inferior opponents, and yes, those opponents are inferior in college because the top go to the top schools. So unless you're constantly playing the top schools, you're not playing any real competition. Quarterbacks in Alabama have a tendency to struggle when they get to the league. Hopefully Kyle Shanahan has something for that. Now, pick number 4. It still belongs to Atlanta, but this is where my first trade comes in. I've been thinking about it, and unless they decide to draft someone, and I don't know why they would draft a quarterback, I have them switching from the 4th pick to the 15th pick. They're trading slots with New England. New England is going to take Trey Lance. Why? And this is the first big surprise of the draft. So, yes, this is going to be the first time in draft history, or at least for the first time in a long time, that there are going to be 4 quarterbacks in the first 4 picks. I have New England taking Trey Lance. Now, I still believe that Trey Lance has the steepest learning curve of the top 5 quarterbacks. But in addition to that, I've also learned that before he ever had his first snap in college, he was already breaking down NFL tape. He knew where he was headed already. And forget about his learning curve, forget about accuracies, all these things. He's good enough to be a top 5 quarterback prospect in the draft. He just flexed the biggest Bill Belichick. Like, he literally, with this, he literally said, hey, Bill Belichick, you need a quarterback of the future. It ain't Stidham, and you're only going to have 1 year with Cam Newton again. I'm your guy. This man just said, come get me, coach. I'm ready to win championships. And you know what? I think that's enough so that Atlanta's going to make that switch. Plus, Atlanta needs help on defense. I don't see that. Like, they need, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Number 5, we have Cincinnati. Initially, I had them taking a wide receiver. But given how Joe Burrow, last year's number 1 pick overall, got rolled over, he was running for his life most of the year, regardless of the fact he had some decent receivers, all that's changed. Yes, he needs weapons, but it's more important that the team protect their asset. Joe Burrow is going to be the quarterback there for at least the next 7 years. Yeah, protect that guy. I have them taking Penei Sewell, and that's just what it is. They really need to keep that happening. Let's see. Number 6, even though I think he is, the chances of Atlanta not trading that pick and taking a tight end kind of high, but I don't think they're going to do that. Even though it is pretty much known that the best prospect in this year's draft, period, no matter what the position, is Kyle Pitts out of Florida. But I have him going number 6, staying in Florida, going to Miami. Why? Because Miami tanked for Tua for a whole season. Last year, he didn't play so well, but the team isn't very good. And they hadn't done too much, to improve him so far. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to give him a fighting chance. They're going to take a tight end. A quarterback's best friend is a tight end. I call him the safety blanket or the safety net, Big receivers can catch down, can catch downfield, make plays upfield. That's what he needs. He's already got Mike Gesicki. If you add Kyle Pitts to that, you just add another threat, and he can block. So there you go. You're going to protect him somewhat, and you're going to give him a big target to throw to downfield, aside from Mike Gesicki. All right. Another surprise here. Last week I did say Justin Fields still goes in the top 10. I have him going in the top 10, except now he's going number 7 as opposed to 9. But going to the same team, he's going to Denver. Denver and Detroit are going to swap the 7th and 9th pick, and Justin Fields still ends up in Denver. So congratulations. I'm going to just say that right now. Even if they don't swap the pick, I still got him going to Denver no matter what. That's assuming that somebody doesn't surprise us with those top 3 quarterbacks in Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and Mac Jones. I don't see him going top 3 because the narrative has been pretty bad. And now we have quarterbacks doing his second pro days, which, going to be honest with you, a pro day is kind of a worthless. It's just worthless. It doesn't do you any good because you're playing on your home turf. You're playing and you're throwing to your receivers. All that familiarity is there. When you get to the league, there's going to be no familiarity. So that's why we have the draft combine. Everyone's throwing to random people. No familiarity. We want to see what you can actually do. That's just like a blatant show of your talent. Pro days, it's one-sided. We saw you do that. We saw that in game tape. And I don't want to see you play, run routes and shorts and shirts if, you know who the target is. We want to see you play with someone you don't have as much chemistry with. All right, moving on. I have Carolina going number 8. Initially, I had them trying to protect their new quarterback that they just traded for, in Sam Darnold. I still think they need to do that, but they're not going to do that here. They don't have the worst offensive line. I think they can do without another offensive lineman, at least in the first round, because this isn't the best year for offensive linemen. They're going to be littered throughout the second and third round, so that's no problem for them at all. They'll pick up. It's not an issue for them. But I have them selecting the first wide receiver off the board this year will be Jamar Chase, and he's going to Carolina, where there's a coach there that he is familiar with as well. Actually coached him in college. So I think there's going to be a good bit of chemistry there. Number 9, Detroit is going to take a wide receiver as well because they did just trade for Jared Goff, and they did lose, I believe they lost Golden Tate or whoever it was. I forget the name of seriously, I'm sorry, but I could care less about Detroit. Until Detroit shows that they can actually be effective, I have no reason to kind of follow them that closely, and that's just an opinion of mine. I will be, tracking them closer now because they have a real quarterback. Well, they already had a real quarterback, but they're resetting. So, anytime you reset the deck, things get a little bit interesting. So I got them taking Jalen Waddle, another Alabama receiver. So Jamar Chase is LSU, by the way. So Jamar Chase is LSU. He goes number 8 to Carolina, and Detroit, who switched with Denver to go 9th instead of 7th, they still get their guy in Jalen Waddle. Again, I always say that I am a Washington fan, but we're talking about the draft here. I'm a Washington fan. The 10th pick goes to the Dallas Cowboys, to which they're going to take the best corner in the draft, in my opinion. Well, not even just my opinion. It's pretty much seen across the board that he is the best. He's the most sound player. He's plug and play. You can just put him in. He could be a day one starter. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Patrick Surtain II is going to Dallas, and if they don't take him, Jerry Jones needs to be, I don't know, someone needs to just lock him in a closet during draft time, because if they pass up on Patrick Surtain II, I don't know. It's like he's cursing the team to never be relevant ever again. All right. So I stopped at 10 last week. This week we're going to go the whole distance for the first round. Number 11, the best edge talent-wise, and probably just in general, in this year's draft is out of Miami, kid Jalen Phillips. Now, I have New York taking him here because they need help on defense. The problem is he is also the biggest boomer bust player here. Talent-wise, he is a big hit. He's box office. He is going to be, like, the idea is for him to be the next big defensive lineman to come out, to play for the Giants. That's the idea here, They want to have another Michael Strahan. They want to have another Justin Tuck. As this is what they want. But, quick backstory on Jalen Phillips. He's had a lot of head injuries throughout his childhood leading up to his college days. And when he did play at UCLA, he had another concussion that pretty much made him have to retire in the middle. He was no longer able to play college football, at least for that team. He stepped away from the game for a little while and decided to come back. He came back to play for Miami, and now he's in the draft. Now, he is a huge liability as far as injury is concerned. He could just be one concussion away from just not playing ever again. But we're going to see what happens. I think New York takes the gamble here, and they take Jalen Phillips out of Miami. Number 12, Philadelphia. Okay, so Philadelphia can go a lot of different ways here. Of course, Patrick Surtain is already off the board. They need help on defense, but they did take a big risk when they traded away their quarterback, Carson Wentz, who is now in Indiana or Indianapolis, whatever. So their quarterback starting at the very moment is Jalen Hurts, and he has no targets. And Devante Smith is still sitting there. But they also need help on defense. So I had a hard time with this pick because they could have easily selected they could have easily selected J.C. Horn out of South Carolina, which would be a great pick. Because J.C. Horn, I'll give you something about him in just a moment, but he's an amazing player. And sorry, I just noticed that I have Philadelphia 12 on, up and down, but that's editing sometimes for you. I'm still working on it. But regardless of that, I have Devante Smith, the wide receiver, going to Philadelphia. They have to give Jalen Hurts some help out there. They did lose Zach Ertz. They don't have any other receivers of any real credibility. They got to help. Like, seriously, their receiving core looks something like Baltimore. That's not good. And the quarterback, they don't even really, from what I can see, they don't even really, believe in Jalen Hurts. But if they're going to go for this, they need to give that guy some weapons. And even if they don't go with him overall, Devante Smith will not hurt them in the least bit. All right, moving forward, pick number 13. Originally, I had Slater going in the top 10, depending on what Atlanta does with their pick. But with Atlanta switching with New England in this draft prediction here, I have Slater falling to the 13th pick, which is great for the Chargers because they need to protect their new quarterback from last year. I'm sorry, his name is literally leaving my mind right now, but he had an amazing season last year. The best thing you could possibly do is protect your assets. That's the greatest thing you could possibly do. Number 14, it says here the Vikings have it, and they do have it right now. Here comes another surprise for you. I have them swapping that pick with the Las Vegas Raiders. Yes, the Las Vegas Raiders will not, I'm sorry, they're not going to pass up on J.C. Horn. J.C. Horn goes 14th to Las Vegas. One thing Mark Davis, son of Al Davis, learned was you take the best player available. At this point, that would be J.C. Horn. And as a Washington fan, I want him to fall to 19, but it just ain't happening. That is a pipe dream that I have got to let go. So, moving forward, the Patriots were going to pick 15th, but they switched with Atlanta, but I still have Micah Parsons going, and he's the best linebacker in the draft this year. I have him going to the Atlanta Falcons. They do need help playing defense. Their defense has been horrid for a little while now, and it's bad. Okay, so, sorry, I remissed this. So, fun fact about J.C. Horn, last season, or was it in college in general, there was only one receiver, and I forget his name, one receiver that played against him that got a 50-yard game. A 50-yard game on him. Understand something. Not a 100-yard game. 50. 50 is the most any receiver got on him over the course of a game, over the course of his college career. That's how good J.C. Horn is. J.C. Horn, the son of Joe Horn, NFL legend for the New Orleans Saints. Yes. So, you heard me right. Horn falls in line with everything that the Davis family always says, just win, baby, win. There you go. He's going to be a Raider. Parsons goes to the Falcons. Number 16, though they don't necessarily need a receiver, Arizona is going to get another receiver regardless. They're going to take Kadarius Toney, and there's nothing else to be said about that. I mean, they have DeAndre Hopkins. They just picked up J.J. Watt to add to their defense, which, not going to lie, I thought J.J. Watt was going to Pittsburgh to play with his brothers, but hey, the man wants to win a championship, and I guess he doesn't see that happening in Pittsburgh, which can't blame him for that one. All right, so Kadarius Toney goes to Arizona to play opposite side of DeAndre Hopkins. So that should work out pretty well. All right, so earlier I did say that Las Vegas and Minnesota are swapping picks 14 and 17, which means Christian Darrisaw, another great offensive lineman, is going to Minnesota. Minnesota is in a situation where they do need to pick up a quarterback at some point in the very near future because I don't see them re-signing Kirk Cousins if He has not played up to the potential of that contract that he signed a few years ago. I mean, he just has an $84 million all guaranteed, and he hasn't played up to it. They've actually gotten worse. They've regressed every year. So, yeah, they're going to pick up an offensive lineman. They're going to protect their future asset. Got to remember, this is chess, not checkers. So, moving forward, Miami is back on the clock, and they're going to take an edge. And I know I'm going to say his name right, but his name is strange to me. I mean, but it is what it is. Kwity Paye. He's an edge. He's probably the second best edge in the draft this year, or at least, from my opinion. And I think he fits in just fine right in that Miami defense. Moving on, number 19, my Washington football team, who this year apparently we are going to be getting a new name. Personally, I like the fact that we are called the Washington football team. It makes me feel like the Ohio State Buckeyes. Like, even though they are the Buckeyes, like when you say Ohio State Buckeyes, you have to say the Ohio State Buckeyes. The same way you got to say the Washington football team. I feel prestigious when I say it, but that's going to change very, very soon. Right now, I guess I will be in the camp that go with the name Red Wolves, but I don't really care. I just want us to have a name again, and I want this whole thing to be over. But with the 19th pick in the draft, I have us taking Jeremiah Owusu. I always say his last name wrong. Koromoa. So, yes, I've been calling him J-O-K. Linebacker out of Alabama. No, linebacker out of Notre Dame. I think he's a plug-and-play player as well. I didn't get a chance to watch him play a whole lot from what I did see his combine numbers, and kid jumps off the page. So I hope he actually falls to us. Hopefully nothing kind of messes that up. Chicago. Let me tell you something, Chicago. I like you guys, but I really, really, really wish that you would do better when it comes to picking position players. This is your chance to make up for, and I hate saying it this way because he's one of the most fascinating players for me to watch. You drafted Mitchell Trubisky. That was a huge mistake. Took him too high. He probably shouldn't have been taken in the first round, looking back at what he's been able to do. But I like to watch him play because I see everything he could be. But I think that just playing under Matt Nagy wasn't the right thing for him in general. I think he can still be great. It's just he's a system guy, and Chicago didn't have the right system. But I have them making up for that. They're going to draft an offensive lineman in Elijah Vera Tucker. They're going to take that offensive lineman and they're going to protect a future asset, much like I have Minnesota doing. All right. Indianapolis Colts. They have an edge. They need help on defense as well. They're going to take Azeez Ojulari. They're going to take him. I have Tennessee Titans, and Tennessee burns me up. Tennessee burns me up for one particular reason, and I always bring it back to this. So, Raiders fans, please listen to me on this one. There is no reason in the world for Marcus Mariota to be sitting behind anybody. He is a starter in this league. I don't care what anyone says. He balled out for Tennessee, and they replaced him after they decided to finally do right by that team. Ryan Tannehill is not a slouch, so I'm not going to sit here and say that he's better. He's at least on par with Ryan Tannehill. But that team was being carried by Mariota in every shape, way, form, and fashion on offense, and until the emergence of Derrick Henry. But it just wasn't fair how he got he got done dirty, in my opinion. That's just what it was. And I think him sitting behind Derek Carr is a travesty. Personally, I think there should be a one-on-one competition to see who's really going to be the starter, who's the better player for their team. I hope that's what happens. And if he gets beat, he gets beat. But regardless, I feel like he should be a starter. There was a time when I wanted him in Washington, but, a part of me still does. But I'll let that go. So, I have Tennessee taking Elijah Moore, a wide receiver, because for the love of goodness, they need one. Okay? They definitely need one. All right? So, there you go. Tennessee takes a wide receiver, Elijah Moore. The New York Jets, who just drafted in the top of the first round at number 2, they got Zach Wilson. I think they've learned their lesson on a certain level. They're going to use the rest of the draft to get him some weapons, and possibly they'll sign someone later. But they're going to take an offensive lineman here, and I'm happy for them. They're taking Tevin Jenkins. That is the greatest thing they could do at this point. because they really need to protect their assets. And I'm gonna say it again: get rid of Adam Gase. He's quarterback cancer. Okay. Uh, earlier I said there were going to be some more trades. The last swap of the draft in the first round will be between Green Bay and Pittsburgh. So Green Bay has the 24th pick on my board, right? So they need a cornerback. They desperately need a cornerback. So they're going to take the next best player, and he can play safety or corner. So I have him listed as a DB, and that's Greg Newsome II. So I have him playing, going to Green Bay. That could be great for him. They're looking at him like he could possibly be the next Woodson. So we'll see what happens. Jacksonville has the 25th pick, and they're going to pick up a defensive lineman. After losing Yannick Ngakoue and that defense suffering after losing Jalen Ramsey, they definitely need some help. And the best thing they can do is get on that line. They need to rush the passer. They're going to take a defensive lineman, Christian Barmore. They need him, and I think he's going to fit in just fine. Cleveland has a 26th pick, and Cleveland does not do well when they have late picks in the draft. I'm just going to say that right now. The last time they had a late pick in the draft, they picked Johnny Manziel. Yeah, no good. Before that, I think some of their worst picks have been in the late round. So I think the last really bad pick other than Johnny Manziel was, and I think he got a bad rap. He never really got a shot, but it's fine. He made up for it in his post-career, and that was Brady Quinn, who was a Notre Dame quarterback from a while ago. He played a few games, and they just trashed him like he was no good at all, and he never really got another chance to play again, which wasn't fair to him, but it is what it is. But they're going to take a legacy player here, and Asante Samuel Jr. Asante Samuel was not a slouch, so I doubt his son will be, but we'll have to see. I didn't do a lot of game film on him, but Cleveland is known for doing this. Another team that is known for not concentrating on what they need to take, and they're always, it works for them sort of, but it doesn't, is Baltimore. Baltimore with the 27th pick, they're gonna go safety here. They're gonna take Trevor Morick, and honestly, they need a wide receiver. They really need to help that receiving core out because they have Hollywood Brown, and Hollywood Brown, if you don't know, that's Antonio Brown's cousin. And the kid can play, but I don't see him as a number one receiver, at least not in Baltimore. He's a number two. In most teams, he's probably a number two. But in Baltimore, he's probably the number one at the moment, and it's not going to work out. Lamar needs big body receivers. He needs big guys out there, So, man, Baltimore usually goes running back or they go defense. And they're going to go defense this year, in my opinion, just sticking to their little legacy that they do with the draft, and I don't really see them deviating from that anytime soon. So Lamar Jackson, good luck to you, man. I really want you to get some help out there, bro. But it is what it is. Number 28, New Orleans Saints are going to take Caleb Fairley, and honestly, this is a great pick right here. He's probably the steal of the draft as far as late picks go. I can see him starting midway through the season and just taking, just taking off like Lattimore did a couple years ago. So it is what it is. They need help at the corner slot. I see them doing that, and hopefully they figure out the quarterback situation, because I'm sorry, but when the only two quarterbacks you have on your roster to choose from to start are Taysom Hill and Mr. 30 for 30 himself, Jameis Winston. That's not gross. Okay, I'm going to let that go. 29, Pittsburgh. Remember, they swapped with Green Bay at 24. Okay, so the Steel Curtain. Traditionally, they are a running team, but under their head coach, who, by the way, just got signed to a 3-year extension, so, they love to keep one coach going, so it is what it is. They're traditionally a running team, but they became more of a receiving team, and they have one more year with Juju Smith-Schuster, who has signed a 1-year deal, because next year he wants to reset the market, which means he's probably leaving Pittsburgh. So I guess they'll get a receiver next year, or however they're going to do this. I don't know. But they did just drop their running back. They don't have a running back right now, but I also don't have them taking a running back here. Now, I know it's hard to believe that they would actually pass up on, like, in my opinion, the best running back in the draft. But they do need to get an offensive lineman in there. Big Ben is going to play another year. I don't see him playing more than this year, so they need to look for a quarterback very soon as well. But they're going to go and do the same thing that I have Minnesota doing. They're going to do the same thing that I have Chicago doing, and they're going to protect a future investment. They're going to take the offensive lineman out of Alabama. They're going to take Alex Leatherwood with this pick at number 29. That's good on them. They do need help on offensive line, considering that Pouncey just retired. So, yeah, they need that. And because they're going to pass on the best running back in the league, in the draft, that tells you what I think he's going to become once he gets an opportunity to play. Buffalo has a 30th pick in the draft, and they're going to definitely take the best player available, which is a running back, Naji Harris, another Alabama standout. I know a lot of people get a little shocked when I say this, but I know a lot of people say that Alabama players play with the best all the way around, so a lot of them do struggle. And given how Richardson struggled, he was probably the last notable Alabama running back to be chosen. He flopped. He fizzled out fast. But I still think that Najee Harris he's a cut above. So this kid's different. You know, big running back. I think he's about 6 foot, maybe 230 pounds. The kid can hit. When you hit him, you ain't hitting, a weighted bag, man. He's hitting him is gonna be like a linebacker hitting you. It's gonna be bad. So I got Buffalo taking that running back at number 30, and of course, usually the last 2 picks of the draft are gonna go to the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl. Kansas City will be selecting, in my opinion, Jason Owe. He's going to, he's going to help them out on defense because they really needed help last year, and he's going to fill a position of need. I don't know if he's going to start this year, but he's definitely going to see the field a few times, and barring injury, of course, for all these players. They're taking the edge rusher, Jason Owe. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because they don't have a reason, and I hate saying this, they don't have a reason to look for a quarterback going forward, because apparently Tom Brady is going to try to play until his arm falls off, or his wife comes onto the field and drags him back home and has to tell everyone that he is retiring because she wants him home. I don't know what's going to happen, but they're going to take Landon Dickerson, who actually I have my original draft board, which I didn't tell you guys. I had him going much higher in the draft, but again, my draft board is completely depending upon what Atlanta does with that 4th pick. So Atlanta holds all the cards, because it doesn't matter what San Francisco does, because whether they take Mac Jones or they take Trey Lance or they take Justin Fields, it doesn't really matter, because Atlanta is that 4th pick, and what they do with that pick really matters the most. So that's my whole first round draft pick this year, and hopefully I'm right. That's the whole hot take. And I'm going to give you guys a preview of next week's show right quick. Well, it's not even the whole show, just a segment. I don't want war with legends, but me and Shaq going to fight. We going to fight. Anyway, that's been another episode of Hot Takes, folks. This was a draft special. I know I said I was going to do a 3-part series, but with the draft being around the corner, I decided to make a change to that and give you my whole first round. And this took me a full week to actually set up and get in order. And this wasn't easy, so hopefully I actually got it right. I love you guys. It's been 18 weeks. Let's keep it going. And can't wait till the next episode, because this one right here, ooh, Shaq, boy. All right, folks. See y'all later. Peace.